Welcome back to The Unexpected Path, a love story beyond borders. If this is the first video you've found, don't forget to check out Part 1 and Part 2. In Part 1, Feza and Alain's love story began with an unexpected encounter on a Parisian metro. In Part 2, their bond grew as they explored the beauty of Paris, danced at a vibrant music festival, and shared dreams of a future beyond borders. Now, in Part 3, Alain takes a leap of faith, traveling to the Democratic Republic of Congo for 6 months. But his journey isn't all smooth. From a rough welcome at immigration to the heat hitting unexpectedly, Alain quickly realizes he's far from home. As Feza, a woman from a wealthy and well-connected family, guides him through Kinshasa, Alain experiences both the luxury and the rigid expectations of Congolese society. He stays with Feza's grandmother, explores the rich culture of Kinshasa, and embarks on eye-opening trips to Matadi, Lubumbashi, Kolwezi, and Goma, where he uncovers unexpected business opportunities. But with Feza's family watching closely, can Alain prove he's here for more than just an adventure? Or will his journey in the DRC redefine not only his love for Feza but also his purpose in life? Let's dive into Part 3 of The Unexpected Path, a love story beyond borders. Alain had promised Feza that their story wasn't over, and he was a man of his word. Determined to explore her wild and understand her roots, he made the decision to stay in the Democratic Republic of Congo for 6 months. It wasn't just about Feza. His military past had left him with lingering questions about the places where his country had intervened. Matadi, Lubumbashi, Kolwezi, and Goma were more than just names on a map. They were part of a history he had only known through second-hand accounts. Now, he wanted to see them for himself. But his journey did not start smoothly. The moment Alain landed at Njili International Airport in Kinshasa, the heat hit him like a hammer. He had traveled to many tropical regions before, but the humid intensity of the Congolese sun was something else. Within minutes, he felt sweat gathering at the back of his neck. Still, he straightened his posture, adjusted his backpack, and made his way to immigration. There, he encountered his first challenge. The immigration officer, a stocky man with a piercing gaze, flipped through his passport slowly, eyeing him with suspicion. "What is the purpose of your visit?" the officer asked in French. Alain, fluent in the language after years of traveling, responded confidently, "Tourism. I'm here to visit Kinshasa, Matadi, Lubumbashi, Kolwezi, and Goma." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Matadi, Kolwezi, what's a Muzungu doing going there?" Alain was used to this kind of scrutiny. His time in the army had prepared him for tense encounters at borders, but he could sense something else in this exchange, an expectation. When he didn't immediately offer money to smooth the process, the officer sighed heavily and asked him to step aside. For nearly an hour, Alain was left waiting while passengers behind him were processed. He could see the game being played, but he refused to panic. Eventually, another officer approached and, after a few questions and some unnecessary delay, he was let through. As he exited into the arrivals hall, Feza was waiting for him, looking radiant in a fitted Laputa dress. "Rough start?" she asked with a knowing smile. Alain exhaled. "Let's just say they wanted to see if I'd panic." Feza chuckled. "Welcome to Kinshasa." Despite being an adult, Feza had never truly experienced independence. Her father was a wealthy and well-connected man, and in Congolese high society, reputation and image were everything. She had grown up in a world where security and discretion were paramount. Whenever she moved around the city, she was usually escorted, whether by a driver, a trusted family member, or security personnel. It was a sheltered but luxurious life. She worked as a school administrator at École Les Petits Génies, a private primary school run by her grandaunt. It was a job she enjoyed, but one that also reinforced her family's expectations for her. She was to marry well, maintain the family's image, and not associate too freely. For that reason, Alain was not allowed to stay with Feza. Instead, he was offered accommodation at her grandmother's residence. The decision was not negotiable. Having a foreign male friend, especially one who was not her fiancé, staying with her would cause gossip. And in Kinshasa's elite circles, gossip could be more damaging than facts. Determined to make the most of his time in the city, Alain took Feza's suggestions and explored Lola Ya Bonobo Sanctuary, a reserve dedicated to the protection of bonobos, the endangered primates native to the DRC. Marche de la Liberté, a bustling local market in Marzina where he witnessed the vibrant and chaotic energy of Congolese trade. Ma Valley Lake, a peaceful getaway outside Kinshasa where he and Feza had lunch in a floating restaurant. Kin Plaza Mall. To Feza's amusement, Alain wanted to see how the wealthy spent their time in the city. Matadi, the country's main port city, was Alain's first stop. He marveled at the stunning view from Pont Miracle, the bridge stretching over the Congo River. The heat was oppressive, but the sight of ships navigating the powerful waters was worth it. He visited the old colonial architecture and even met retired dock workers who shared stories of the past. Feza had family in Lubumbashi, and they were delighted to host Alain. In Lubumbashi, he visited Zoo de Lubumbashi, where he got a closer look at some of the region's unique wildlife. Jacquemine's ruins, the remnants of the once thriving mining giant. Kolwezi was another experience entirely. Alain visited the cobalt and copper mines that had once drawn European settlers. He saw business opportunities in ethical mining and logistics. Perhaps there was a way to provide safer working conditions for artisanal miners. With his military background, he understood the security risks and saw a niche for an international logistics service catering to mining firms. Goma was a different world. With its history of conflict and the looming presence of Mount Nyiragongo, the city had a raw energy that both fascinated and unsettled Alain. He visited Lake Kivu, where he met local fishermen, and took a short trip to the Virunga National Park, home to mountain gorillas. But it was the scars of past wars, the presence of NGOs, and the stories of resilience that left the biggest impact on him. While Feza's family was polite, they were skeptical. They wanted to know what Alain's real intentions were. Congolese society was classist, and Feza came from privilege. They needed to be sure he wasn't just another foreigner looking to use her for her family's connections or romantic experiment. Alain, ever composed, made it clear that he was not there to take anything from Feza. If anything, he was looking for ways to contribute. His ideas about ethical business opportunities in Kolwezi intrigued them, but they still needed convincing. By the time his 6-month stay was coming to an end, Alain had fallen in love, not just with Feza, but with the DRC itself. The experience had challenged him, educated him, and opened new doors. But what came next? Would he return to Paris and leave Feza behind? Or was there a future for them in the Congo? Their journey was far from over. Alain came to the DRC for Feza, but what he found was a deeper connection to a country full of history, culture, and opportunities. From Kinshasa to Goma, he faced challenges, gained new perspectives, and discovered possibilities he never imagined. But now, his 6-month stay is coming to an end. Will he leave, or will he take the biggest risk of his life and build a future here? Let us know in the comments. What would you do in Alain's place? Have you ever visited a country that changed the way you saw the world? And if you haven't seen part 1 and part 2 yet, go watch them now to see how this incredible journey began. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for the next chapter of The Unexpected Path, a love story beyond borders. You won't want to miss what happens next.